Greetings for the day. This is CA Uday Elchuri. Today I would like to show Procure to Pay process with a live demonstration using Oracle Applications. This tutorial will help you to understand how in real time the Procure to Pay process works, and also from the ERP perspective how the same transaction is executed in the ERP applications. So you will have these topics on your chapter 1 automated business process, as well as in chapter number 2 financial and accounting systems. Okay, let us directly get into the scenario, and then parallelly I will show you in the application how that step is executed. So in chapter number 1, under diagrammatic representation of specific business process, they have discussed about customer order fulfillment is nothing but order to cash cycle, and there is one more cycle, procure to pay. Yeah. Now we are going to see this procure to pay transaction. So the first step is user department. Okay, before I get into the live demonstration, let me try to give you the context or scenario. Let's say there is one of the accountant from the finance department require some notepads, some stationery to do his job, but currently they don't have the stationery available with them. So now he has to request that stationery to the purchasing department. Okay, let's see from there how it goes. I will read through the step from this document and simultaneously create the transaction in the application. User department. So in our example, assume he is an accountant from finance department. So a user in an enterprise may require some material or service. So in our example, we are taking material, some notepad or a books, stationery. Based on the need and justification, the user raises a purchase request. In short form, it's called PR, purchase request. So he's requesting the purchase department to purchase the stationery because they ran out of stationery. To the procurement department, procurement or a purchase department, both are same. Now, so how the purchase requisition is created in ERP, I will be showing now. So the accountant will log into the purchasing module, or he will have access to create the purchase request. See, in real time this can happen in multiple ways. The purchase request can be raising of purchase request access can be given to the end user, in our example the accountant itself, so that he can raise the purchase request by himself, or there could be somebody from the purchasing department who will raise the purchase request on behalf of the accountant. So it depends on organization to organization. So there is no hard and fast rule. So but the steps will be same. Whoever creating that might change from organization to organization, but the creation process will be same. So what the user will do, he will come to this requisition window. Okay, here they can write simple request for notepads. Okay, let's assume request for notepads. So here he has to select the notepad item from the item list. See, I am selecting a value from the list of values. If you remember, in your chapter number 2, you would have read a concept about types of data, master data and non-master data. Master data, under inventory head, you have item master. So the current information, item code, what I am selecting is a classic example of item master. So here there is an item code HE10115 and the description is notepad. So I am selecting this item because I need stationery. So the moment I select the item master, item code, certain details got defaulted automatically, the description. So this is one of the advantage of maintaining the master data. You need not enter this data again and again. you have to record or store all this data at one place when you are creating for the first time. From second time onwards, you can reuse the data. Okay, that's the advantage. Now here I am saying, okay, I need notepads. So unit of measure, UAM means, so it is measured in each. How many quantity I want? Let's say I want 20 notepads. Price, see, the accountant may or may not know. There is no hard and fast rule that he should be knowing the price, but assume that he knows the price. So he can give $5. Okay, it's in dollars. By when I want these notepads? I want these notepads by 20th. Assume that. By next 1 week, I need these books. So he entered this minimal information and submit and save the purchase request. Okay, the moment we saved the transaction, it created a purchase request number. Okay, let's note this purchase request number 15908, purchase request number. So if you see here, currently the status is in incomplete status. That means this transaction is not completed yet. So what needs to be done? Usually in the organizations, somebody will create the purchase requisition and their supervisors or managers will review and approve. It's just as part of the control. If they don't have a control, people can request whatever they want, right? So the approver can be somebody from their department. Means example, as he is from finance department, could be the finance manager or the purchasing department manager as well, because he is requesting the material. They need to check the authenticity of it, why we need to purchase this material. Okay, they will check all these things and provide the approval part to it. So usually if it is going for an approval, the person who is approving, he will come to this screen and click on approve. Okay, for our demonstration purpose, I am doing all the activities from the same screen. Now let us see the 15908, right? Let us query that 15908. Just to see the status, whether it is converted or not. Yeah, you see here it got approved. Now somebody can take action or they can proceed with the purchase requisition. So the first step is completed. Now you see here, a user in the enterprise may require some material or service. Based on the need or justification, he creates the purchase request to the procurement department. So now the next step is with the procurement department. They got the purchase requisition. Now the next step, what they do, see here. So they receives the purchase requisition and prioritizes the request based on the need and urgency of the user, because in a given day there could be multiple requests from the business. So which is more important, they will take that as a priority and then they will go in the order. So it is the responsibility of the purchase department to find the best source of supply, because accountant is not concerned about, hey, I need the stationery, you go and buy from supplier X or supplier Y. So he don't get into the discussion at all. It is the responsibility of the purchasing department to identify the best supplier for the best rate and the best quality. So they will do all this analysis outside of the system and then identify, okay, they will finalize a particular supplier and for them they create a purchase order. Okay, so they will do the negotiations. Hey, can you share me? See, in this example, as you see only 20 units and that to total value of $100, you won't appreciate all this hard work. But in reality, when the companies are procuring, they procure in large number. So even $1 or a half a dollar than the other supplier, it makes a big difference for them. So they usually do all this supplier sorting part. So once they identify and finalize the supplier, they create the purchase order in the system. Who creates? The purchasing department, means the buyer. The buyer from the organization create the purchasing order. So what is meant by purchasing order? It's nothing but a kind of document which will be given to the supplier. Hey, I need this many number of stationery by so and so size, by so and so quantity, by so and so date. So they will fill all this information and then give it to the supplier. So this is called purchase order. Now let's see how the purchase order will be created. See, there are two ways to create a purchase order. Create starting from the, see, let's say, I mean to say, when I say starting, create manually by entering the supplier details from whom you are going to buy and all the item details, the other respective information, like what is the ship to address, means when the supplier is delivering the material, to which address they have to deliver. So all this information they can enter manually. That is one way of doing it. The another way of doing it is auto create, means they convert the purchase requisition to the purchase order automatically. So they click on auto create, enter the requisition number. What is that? 15908. Okay, and then click on find. See, automatically the data came here. From where this data came? From purchase requisition window. Okay, so select the transaction and click on automatic. So here they can give the supplier name. Let's say the supplier is Office Depot Incorporation. He is the supplier name from whom we are going to buy the material. So just click on create. See, now all this data, previously when we come to this page, this information is not there. You have to manually enter. Instead of that, as you already have the purchase requisition ready with the minimal information, why don't you use the same information and speed up the data entry? So here the purchase order have been created automatically by the system by using the purchase requisition, which is in approved status. Okay, so you can just have a quick look at the information it has. So it says this is the supplier. He has to send the ship to, means when he is delivering the material, deliver to this address. Bill to means send the invoice copy to this address. Sometimes the bill to and ship to addresses could be same, sometimes it could be different. Okay, let's say if the material is required to go to factory, they will give the factory address in ship to. If the invoice has to come to the administration office, they will give the bill to address. So that's how they can differentiate it. They have the option. Doesn't necessarily that it has to be different, it can be same as well. Okay, now who is buying it? Buyer from the organization side, who is placing the purchase order. So this is the total value of the purchase order. So it talks about the item code, the description, total quantity, unit price. So by when? 20th April. So all this information got defaulted from the purchase requisition, and it will also show you to which location, as I told you, right, the ship to location of the organization. And also you can check here, this is very important. We will keep coming to this page again and again in our demonstration. If you see here, it shows the ordered quantity is 20. We are going to order 20 units. So as and when you are progressing with the transaction life cycle, this page keep getting updated automatically. See here, currently the status is 20. Now we haven't received any item. There is no cancellation. We have not invoiced. Billed means invoiced. Nothing. So everything is 0 except the order quantity, because we are in the starting stage of the transaction life cycle where we are just ordering the material. Okay. Now, so here also, the moment you create a purchase order, it is in incomplete status. Again, as I said earlier, it can also go for approval, but for demonstration purpose, I am approving myself. So in real time, when somebody clicks on approve, it can be even sent to their email address as a notification. One email will come to the manager where he can simply click on approve from the mailbox itself. He need not even come to the application. Okay. Now the PO is approved. So this is a mandatory. If the PO is not approved, you cannot receive material against it. So it's a kind of control. Okay. Now we have the purchase requisition. We have the purchase order. Let's note down the purchase order number. So from your steps, we have completed number 1, number 2. So now the purchase order is ready. Usually what businesses does, let's say, let me check. Yeah. So the purchase order will be printed like this. If you see here, this is our organization details, okay, the supplier details. This is our ship to address, our bill to address, where it gives, okay, this is the payment term, means we will be paying to the supplier after 45 days from the invoice date. Once I receive the invoice, from that dates plus 45 days is my payment dates. So all these dates, all these terms and conditions, so who, where they will be delivering it, who is responsible, like this UPS is something like the courier agency, who, like, through whom you are delivering the material. So all this additional information you can capture as part of the purchase order. So this is the content, actual content of the purchase order. So this document, if you see there, it shows the item code, by when I want, how many quantity, the unit of measure, unit price, total is $100. So these are all already agreed with the supplier. So that is the reason we are creating the purchase order, right? So this document will be printed, either sent to the supplier via email, or you can send via post, in whichever mechanism you agreed with the supplier. Sometimes you can transmit this document via electronic mode as well, automatically. It's called electronic data interchange. So through various means they could have delivered this document, purchase order, to the supplier. Now supplier has received your purchase order. What he does, see here, let's read what is going to happen in this step. The vendor receives the purchase order and carries out his own internal check. He will check whether the item is there with them or not at the moment. If not, they will procure that material and then ship it to us. And the quantity, item price is as per the agreed, payment terms are as per agreed, the ship to bill to addresses are, will they be able to deliver, all these internal checks they will do it. So once they are done, like, yeah, the subsequent process, what they do, they match the PO with the quotation they sent, because in the previous step, if you see, they will actually, our purchasing department would have reached out to multiple suppliers. Hey, I need so and so material, what would be your price? So can you send me the quotation? So the same quotation copy will be there with the supplier as well, right? So he will be checking, okay, for this customer, what is the price I have offered initially? Now what is the price mentioned in the purchase order? So these minimal checks he will be doing from their end, and everything is fine. He will raise an internal sales order from the enterprise. So you need not worry about now, because we are seeing the entire transaction from the originating, means whoever purchasing the material, from their direction we are seeing the transaction. We are not checking from the other side what they are doing within their organization. That will become sales process for them. Now he will be creating an order. Finally they will be shipping the material to us. So the material is then shipped to the address indicated in the purchase order. Okay, these are all things happen outside of system. So that's the reason I'm not doing anything in our ERP. Okay, at the moment we send a purchase order. Now the next step for us is, once we got the material from the supplier, from then onwards our activity will start. Now, so when the material is being sent by the supplier, he will also send the vendor invoice. Now let us see, assume we got the material, we also got the vendor invoice. So the first step will be the stores department from our side. So they receive the material and they will also check the quantity with the PO and quality with the users. Hey, I received some notebooks from Office Depot as a supplier. So he sent 20 quantity and this is the category of books he sent. Are you fine with this? So all these things will be checked by the stores department. So they maybe reach out to the end user and or call and check all these parameters. So once everything is fine, they create the goods received note, GRN in the short form. They prepared based on actual receipt of material. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's say you would have ordered 20. What are all the various possible combinations that can happen? Supplier could have sent the entire 20 quantity at one shipment, or he could have divided 10. Two shipments also he can send. There is no hard and fast rule, right? Maybe at that point of time he might have only 10 on hand, so immediately he shipped 10 notebooks to you. The remaining 10 notebooks he will send it before 20th April. Okay, that can also happen. So from the stores department point of view, they will enter only the quantity they received. Okay, they will not create with a wrong quantity. So now How the GRN is prepared, let us see here. So the stores department people, they will come to this receiving page, they will create the receipt here. Okay, when they are creating, they have to select the location against which they are receiving the material. So they can also start from here. Okay, they know the purchase order number against which the material have been come, 6576. They will enter this. Automatically the supplier details got defaulted. So they just simply click on find and they are creating a new receipt. If you see here, lot of details are defaulted from the purchase order again. Okay, so it says this is the ordered quantity 20. So this is the inventory, all of the details, the where to ship, who actually requested it, what is the category, couple of other details relating to the inventory module, that inventory item have been defaulted here. So here they can update. Let's assume if they got only 10 quantity, they have to enter 10 here. They cannot enter 20. Okay, system would have defaulted the 20, assuming that the entire quantity you are getting it. But in reality, you might get 10. You might get 50. System will not stop you as long as you are entering any quantity less than or equal to 20. Let's say if you are entering 30, see there is an error message saying that if you receive it, it becomes over receipt tolerance. So you are receiving more than what is allowed within the organization. So it will give this alert to you. So let's assume, don't complicate the example. I'm making it as a simple. So assume that we got the full quantity. So from the stores department point of view, all they need to do was enter the quantity what they received. Okay, they said 20 and then save the transaction. Sorry. That's it. So stores department responsibility is also done. So they created the GRN. So this is what the GRN means. A material issue note is created and then material is sent to the concerned user. So the notebooks have been come to the stores department. They create a material issue note and then dispatch the material to the end user accountant. So from the accountant perspective, he got the notebooks what he want. Now the leftover activity is paying the supplier, right? Now let us see what will happen. Now final step is the accounts payable department. You remember in the previous step, when the vendor is delivering the material, along with this he would have sent the vendor invoice also sent to the accounts payable department. See, he knows the ship to address, bill to address, right? The material will be dispatched to the ship to address, the invoice will be sent to the bill to address. Okay, basically in the bill to address the finance department will be there, in the ship to address the stores department will be there. Okay, that is how usually the organizations manage. Now let us see what will be the activities done by the accounts payable department. So AP is a short form of accounts payable. They do a three-way match of PO, GR and vendor invoice. I will explain this. This is very important control in P2P process. So you remember, you are able to follow, students? We created a purchase requisition and then created a purchase order and also created a GRN. Okay, the last leg is the accounts payable department. They are going to create the supplier invoice. Now before that, I want to show certain details to you. When we are creating purchase order, I have given one wait, let me show you from this screen, it will be easy. 6576 is the purchase order number. Okay, you remember, students, when I initially when we are creating the purchase order, I showed a particular screen where it shows what is the ordered quantity, what is the received quantity, what is the billed quantity. So at any given point of time, we can come and check here whether this purchase order have been received or not. If received, how much quantity I received, whether it is billed or not. If it is billed, when I say billed, invoiced, but if it is invoiced, how much quantity I have invoiced. All this information can be seen from here. See, quantity is 20, means the ordered quantity is 20. There is no due, that means we have received fully. Okay, again this is also confirming. If you have a quality check, they will come and update, I have accepted 20. We don't need a quality check, that's the reason it is 2 here. So if you have a quality check, you would have accepted some, you could have rejected some. So these columns will get updated accordingly. But since it's a small item, we don't want to involve the quality team here. And quantity build. Currently, we have not yet built this purchase order. So that is the reason the quantity build is 0. Now we will go back to that invoice window, create the invoice, and again you can come back and see the quantity updates. Now let's go back to the payable modules. So I am creating the invoice. So the finance department got the invoice from the supplier. Now they are creating it. So here also I can enter the purchase order number. All the details can defaulted by the application. So this basically helps the user to speed up the data entry, nothing more than that. You can also, without entering the purchase order number also, you can create an invoice. So there is no hard and fast rule. Example, if you are getting an electricity bill from the electricity department, are you going to raise any purchase order for that? No, right? Similarly, if you are paying an insurance premium on an yearly basis to the insurance company, are you going to send a purchase order to the insurance company? No. So there are cases where there will not be any purchase order, but still you need to honor that expenditure. So in that cases, you can directly create an invoice in API module. So but if you have the purchase order number, better enter it so that you can speed up the data entry. Let's say the supplier has sent the whichever date he sent the invoice, you can enter it. Let's assume that the invoice date is 18th April. Oh, okay. So today is no problem. Let me go back. So basically it's a supplier invoice date and supplier invoice number. Okay, this number will be displayed on their invoice. So when he is sending the invoice, there would be some serial number, right? I'm just entering that number over here. I don't have any original invoice for me, so I'm just visualizing and entering the data. So invoice amount, so 20 notebooks into $5, $100. So once you enter the basic information, you can click on match. What it does, it created a document sequence number, document number for the invoice. This is an internal number. Okay, previously we have entered this number. This is supplier invoice number. Okay, now, okay, let me, yeah, now let's click on find. See here, automatically the data got defaulted by the purchase order. So here you can see ordered is 20, received is 20, currently billed is 0. So invoice department can also play with this number. If the supplier send an invoice for 10 quantity, they can enter 10. But if the supplier sends even though the supplier sends for 30, for some reason, maybe mistakenly they send the invoice with 30. Let's see here what it is saying. This will result in a overbill, means you are overbilling it. So this is the point they are talking here. If you see, it's called three-way match. That means system will compare these three quantities. What is that? What is the purchase order quantity? What is the received quantity? What is the billed quantity? These three quantities will be compared by the system when you are billing it. So at any given point of time, you cannot bill it more than what you received. In this example, as you have received 20, you can bill for 20 quantity, or even for one notepad also you can bill it, but you cannot bill it for 21 notebooks. Okay, that's the control they are talking about. So let's assume again we have got an invoice properly from the supplier, so we are billing it for 20. So the supplier, the invoice have been created. Just save the transaction. There are some internal checks that need to be done. It's called validation. So what it does, system will check, are there any errors in the invoice creation or not. If there are no errors, it will say fine. But here it says there is some issue. Don't worry. The tax have been calculated by the system here. The value is 100. On top of it, there is a tax. So I just need to update the value here. You need not worry about this. Now once I update, I have to revalidate it again. See, the status is validated. That means the invoice have been booked properly. There are no issues to it. Let us go back to the document. So what accounts payable does, so they will do a three-way match. So we understand what is meant by a three-way match. This is to ensure that the price, quantity and terms indicated in the vendor invoice matches with the purchase order, and the quantity received in the PO matches with the GRN quantity. So all these checks they will be checking whether the order quantity is correctly billed, whether the payment terms have been properly means example at the time of raising purchase order, we have agreed with the supplier that we will pay in 45 days. But at the time of vendor invoice, if you would have modified to 30 days or 15 days, organization will be at risk, right? So they have to check all these parameters and then properly update the invoice. So if they find any discrepancies, usually what happens, they call back the supplier, hey, the purchase order says this is the payment term, but whereas your invoice gives 15 days as a payment term, so we need to pay you within 15 days, which is not agreed by us. So they will get it rectified, all these errors, and once they got the final invoice, they will book it and complete the invoice processing. So see here, if there is no discrepancy, okay, this is the next step they are talking about. Now we have seen the invoice booking stage, right? Let me complete the accounting also. So if you remember, for every transaction, system will create the accounting automatically. That means what should be the debit account, what should be the liability account, debit and credit accounts, so that the trading or a P&L or a balance sheet will be updated automatically by the system. I will show you that accounting entries as well if you want. See here, once the accounting is completed, we can check the accounting for the transaction. Okay, let it load. Meantime, let us see what is the next steps here. So if there is no discrepancy, the payment voucher is prepared for payment and necessary approvals is obtained. If there is a discrepancy, the vendor invoice is put on hold. So this is what I'm saying. Previously there were hold, right? Because header level I said the invoice is for 100, but system calculated the tax, it became 180. So here the discrepancy is there is a difference between the header amount versus line amount. That's the reason it placed a hold. The moment I corrected that discrepancy, automatically hold has been released. So all those things are checked when I'm doing that validation process. I clicked on that button validate, right? System will check all these things automatically. So if everything is fine, they will make the payment to the vendor. So now we have seen the invoice booking, right? So this is the accounting entry. I am just showing this accounting entry. Yeah. So if you see here, it's a debit accrual account, credit the liability account. I have to come back to the whole accounting flow. Maybe we can cover it in a separate video to show how the accounting flow happens. But if you see here, some of the accounts have been debited, some of the accounts have been credited. Okay. So the invoice have been completed as per the payment term. Ideally, if you see here under scheduled payments, as we have 45 days payment term, this invoice have been created on 16th April. System calculated automatically the due date. So it is, this invoice is due on 31st May and this is the payment you have to make. Okay. Let me change this to the payment method instead of check. I will change to, okay. So here you can also mention how you are going to transfer the funds via online or via check or cash. All those are form part of the payment methods. Okay. So the invoice entry is done. Just for the demonstration purpose, I am creating the payment now itself. So on the due date 31st May, the payable department comes to this invoice and make a payment. So they will record here from which bank account I want to transfer the funds. It's my bank account number. Okay. And you should know the supplier bank account details as well, because you are transferring from your bank to bank. Okay. This is the internal sequence number. You need not worry about this. This is the supplier bank account number. You should have all these details. Then you can create a payment. So automatically, just a minute, there might be some issue. Yeah, if you see here, the invoice have been selected, that means the invoice have been recorded as paid in our system. Okay, that doesn't mean that the moment I create here the funds have been transferred to the supplier. Okay, for that there could be various ways. If it is a check, you have to take the printout of the check and give to the supplier. If you are transferring electronically, either you can log into your online banking and transfer the funds. So but what we have done here, from the system point of view, we confirmed to the system, hey, there is an open invoice for this supplier which has to be paid, I paid. Okay, that's what we are telling to the system, that this invoice have been settled. So with this, the invoice have been paid. Okay, from the complete procure to pay. So we have covered all the steps from the live demonstration, and you can also check from here. Let us see, let me requery the invoice to show you the payment details. See here, under the amount paid section, now you have this 108.50 have been fully paid. Means even at the time of payment, you have an option to pay less than 108.50. You can pay even 10% of it, 20% of it, even 100% of it, but you can't pay beyond 100%. So under view payments, you can also see the transaction number, on which date the payment has been made. All this information are visible from the invoice screen itself. Now we can go back to the purchase order and check that billed quantity status there, because we completed the invoicing part, right? Let us go back to the purchasing module. Now let me query the purchase order. What is that? 6576, right? Yeah, 6576. You see here, ordered quantity is 20. There are no due. We have received 20, and there is no acceptance or rejections case. We have billed 20. So with this, the purchase order is closed. So there is no opened by the purchase order. We can also check the purchase order status. Let me see. Yeah, see here, because you completed the entire life cycle of the purchase order. Whatever you ordered, you received, you paid. So there is no action pending on that. So that's the reason system automatically changed the status to closed. So with this, we have completed the live demonstration of the procure to pay. Similarly, the order to cash cycle also happened. So if you see the whole example, there are multiple departments, multiple users are involved, and they will be doing their respective job in the application. But as they are using a single application, they can view this information at any given point of time. Example, the purchasing department person, they can always check whether we have received the quantity or not, whether payment have been paid to this purchase order or not. All these things they can see from the purchase order window. From the invoicing team, they can also check when they are booking the invoice, they will get to know how many is ordered, how many have been received, for how much quantity we are billing now. So all this information is visible because ERP is an integrated system. Even though that data is initially entered in different module, the same data is being accessible by another department from another module. Okay, so you would have read integrated and non-integrated. So in this example, you would have understood what is meant by integration, how the data is being shared by multiple departments or accessed by the multiple departments. I hope you understand the procure to pay life cycle with this live demonstration. Thank you so much, students. Have a nice day.